the boy.
He's been missing.
I am back.
As you can see, there's a third face here. This is my wife, who we will affectionately refer to as the Mrs. No, I will not tell you her name. Same way I don't tell you my name.
So don't even ask, or else I'll find you.
You know, no one's ever actually inquired what your name is.
And they don't. I'm good. I'm glad.
I just find it interesting. Nobody it's always Hood and the boy, and nobody's ever what's his name?
Because they probably
So
already know it.
on my driver's license, it says like boy, and then at the bottom it says the, because you know how names start off with the last name and then the.
Are you insinuating that your legal name is the boy?
And that is exactly what I'm saying. Yes.
Interesting. Okay. Well, it's been a while. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Welcome back, Mr. Boy.
That is me. I am the Mr. Boy.
You can see not in our usual location. I didn't feel like driving to our usual
studio.
setup today. Yeah. I would say studio to make us sound cooler, but it's not really that.
That's what I called it, so it's what it is.
Interesting. Okay. Our work location.
It really is a studio.
Yeah, I mean, let's have some pride in it.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Well, today I'm feeling lazy, so there's no pride in that. So we're here in our lovely home, on our lovely couch, and we could talk about a myriad of things, but we're here to talk about one thing. We are both Christopher Nolan fans. We're all three, I think, at least tentatively Christopher Nolan fans.
As we have expressed on the channel before.
I don't think it's a disservice to say I would consider myself the biggest Nolan fan of the three of us.
I think that's fair.
No, that's right. You're right.
Now, in terms of levels of excitement for this movie, I don't know how we rank.
Okay.
Let's get into it.
Well, okay, so I guess first, obviously, we're here to talk about the Odyssey, Christopher Nolan's adaptation of Homer's epic from way, way back in the day back.
That people have not read since high school, but are suddenly super protective over.
Oh, my good. Well, so it's not that they haven't read it. It's that some of you probably know a couple of years ago, something that was really popular on TikTok and social media that had a bit of a, I guess, resurgence of the story of Odysseus was a thing called Epic, the musical. And I think that's where a lot of people are getting their high horses from, for lack of a better term. It's like, oh, well, we're supposed to have this and it's supposed to be like that because this is how it was explained in this media. Not that there are certain, not that Epic and the book itself have that much in terms of differentiation. There are some things, however, with an adaptation that people take liberties on. So I think everybody is coming into this with knowledge of Epic and being like, well, hey, maybe we should have done this, or hey, how come they don't look like that? Because this is how it was explained and so on and so forth. And it's like, well, you're not an expert of a book that came out in 400.
I'm gonna let you believe that because that explanation makes people look better. Because from what the vitriol I've seen on the internet, I ain't seen Epic mentioned once, bro.
Oh, well.
Not once. I think people are just assholes. But that's you keep believing in the betterment of humanity. This is actually a rare switch of character archetypes right now, because generally I'm trying to convince you to see the good in people,
and I'm usually more cynical.
But this Odyssey journey has been. Yeah, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about the journey because it's just gonna make me mad. I'd rather just talk about the movie. It's out now, so we don't got to talk about headlines and rumors and fear mongering, all that nonsense that was going on.
There will be some mild spoilers, but nothing too crazy. I mean, also, like we said, the book is like as old as the Bible, so be wary that there are some things in it. But that being said,
you've had time.
Yeah, more than enough. So I want to start with the misses. Mainly, we usually kind of give our thoughts and opinions on it first. I'd like to give our guest a bit of time to give her thoughts on it.
Yeah, we generally do first thoughts first, like just a general overview, like how you felt about it as a whole before we get into like specifics.
Okay. I can do that. I know how to follow suit. What's up, everyone? My thoughts initially were I was super hyped to see it, and I was even more glad that I did see it. I really, really liked it. It was a brilliant piece. As my husband would say, Nolan don't miss, or however that goes. However, I do have my little meh. I feel like you could have done better on some of this. My personal pet peeve was that we kind of come up at the end of the 20 years, kind of. If you read the story, you know what I mean. We are at the end of the journey where we're like, all right, it's probably time to start making our way back. And I won't give any more spoiler than that, because if you want to see it, you'll see it and you'll know what I mean if you've seen Epic or if you've read the story. But yeah, I think that that's probably one of my biggest pet peeves, because I went in to a 2 hour and 45 movie expecting to feel all 20 years. 257, excuse me. Thank you, Jay.
Credits,
Which we sat there for.
Not all of them.
Oh, no, that's probably fair. That's fair.
So that's actually something I wanted to ask, because something I actually really liked was that the story was told non-linearly. So are you saying that you would have preferred this is the beginning to the end in a more linear fashion?
Absolutely. I like I like the linear, more chronological order of things. It just, my mind works that way. And one of the things that I really enjoyed when I read the story back, or play, whatever we categorize this as, back in school, was that all the details were there. Like, this wasn't some, hey, we went to go do this like a year or so ago, and now we're on our way back, and it just took a super long time. No, like, we went through the journey with you, like,
Sure.
what went down, how long we were there. We were trapped in these spaces. We had to deal with all of this together as a crew. And I feel like that with us coming in at the tail end, we didn't get all of that. Like a friend of ours was with us, and she hasn't read it. She hasn't seen Epic, but she felt it. But I feel like she's a feely kind of person, so that may have been why she felt it. I feel personally like it could have been a meh rushed.
Interesting.
Rushed.
I think I actually disagree with you on that.
Really?
So, not that this is the only movie to have done that, but I kind of like the Pulp Fiction approach that they took, where, we start at this pivotal moment where we're talking about, or we're referencing this guy, and then we don't really see him for the first 5-ish plus minutes of the movie. He's just kind of this ethereal character, and then we finally start getting the bits and pieces, and it takes a while to actually figure out where we are in the timeline, what's going on, everything like that. They mention hey, it's been 20 years, and then we kind of figure out where they are, and then we start to see the bits and pieces that led him up to where he is. And it's not until you get to that last, we'll say 45 minutes, where everything does happen in chronological order. I kind of like that, though, because I have not experienced Epic, so taking that out of the equation, as someone who read the Iliad and the Odyssey way back in high school, I agree with you that starting from the beginning and kind of working through that it makes you feel like Odysseus, in that it is very daunting to kind of go through all of this. I would argue, though, that experiencing the story through a memory type of fashion, I don't think that takes away from feeling the things that Odysseus went through. In fact, maybe not necessarily enhances is the correct word, but I do think there is a level of every time we get back to the modern day and you get thrown back into a memory, you're like, I know where we're going, but how did we get here? And I appreciate the drama of how did we get here, because if you don't know what's going to happen and you're watching what's happening to him and his crewmates and everything like that, then there is this level of who's going to make it, who's going to get there, who isn't going to get there. You know, I kind of like that tug and pull. I think it gives the story a bit of brevity in moments where you go through this really heavy moment with Odysseus and then you take a breath and you're with Telemachus and you're back at Ithaca and you're with Penelope and you're like, man, I know that you guys are struggling right now, but oh boy, if you only knew what happened 15 years ago, that was some... And then you're there 15 years ago and you're like, oh my God, this is so heavy. And then you have that moment of brevity and you're back. I think it's a really good way to kind of give a nice little ebb and flow, almost a bit of a wave, no pun intended, given that they are the sea folk. I feel like that actually helps the movie a lot.
I feel like you just described waterboarding.
Well, maybe I'm a war criminal because I liked it.
That was crazy.
I think we may be overlooking just one very important detail that I've noticed a lot of people do, not even like in this conversation per se, but the Iliad and the Odyssey keep getting thrown into the same blender. And it needs to be established, like, very objectively, the Iliad and the Odyssey are two different stories. Now, I get that they are connected, like, they're chronologically, one is after the other. But the Odyssey is not a journey of 20 years. It's a journey of 10 years. The Iliad is the first 10 years. The first 10 years he's gone is at war. And then the Odyssey starts when the war is over. The reason he was away for 20 years is not because it took him 20 years to get home. It took him 10 years to get home after it took him 10 years to fight the war. So telling the story chronologically from beginning to end in that regard is asking them not to tell just the Odyssey. You're asking them to tell the Iliad and the Odyssey. But we're not watching the Iliad. We're watching the Odyssey. Fair enough. Starting at the... Now, I should have expected this because the non-linear style is not just an interesting way, in my opinion, to tell this story, but it's what Nolan does. And I was actually talking yesterday about the fact that I like that he put Odysseus on the island where he has to get his memory back, because that is something that happens in the story, and that gives him an excuse to tell the story the way that Nolan tells stories. He didn't just say, oh, this is a chronological story, but because I'm Nolan, I'm just going to tell stories how I tell stories. He actually used a part of the story that created a mechanic for him to do it the way that he does it. So that, now, I do fully agree. I fully agree with the fact that it didn't feel like he was away for it. It didn't even feel like he was away for 10 years, let alone 20 years. There's a moment where he... Fuck it, spoiler alert. There's a moment where he gets home before the consequences of what may or may not happen when he gets home. There's a moment where he gets home and he kind of just gets there. You know what I mean? And I do feel like like the way that moment was set up, like this is what you're gonna have to do to get there, was super epic. And then it was almost like the movie said, hey, remember that super epic thing you had to do to get her? That was some crazy shit, wasn't it? And he was just like, and you're kind of as an audience member, was like, that would have been cool to see. You know what I mean? Like I would have watched that movie, but I guess we're here. my favorite part about the Nolan movie, or the Nolan movies, and this movie specifically, and it's actually why I didn't like Oppenheimer that much, which is one of my controversial Nolan takes. I didn't care for Oppenheimer. I just didn't. But the reason I didn't care for Oppenheimer is because what I like most about Nolan is when he takes fantastical ideas, these otherworldly, unrealistic whatevers, and pulls it down into this could really happen. Now, there's no such thing as a Cyclops. Scylla is not real. Like, these things can't happen. But Nolan presented the movie in a way where it could happen. Like, the underworld was not like this. A portal to hell didn't open and they go through. Like, the underworld was like a beach that they rolled up on. You know what I mean? And the giants, they weren't like, they were just like 9 feet tall. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, I can believe there's a place where people are just taller, you know? And I can believe that there's a island of mud people who just raise out the ground or whatever because they're like mole men, you know what I mean? Now, that's not to say he shies away from the fantastical elements. It's to say that he presents it in a way that I think magic and whatnot would be in real life, where it's just the scariest shit you've ever seen. Like, when you're watching Doctor Strange, it's like, it's cool. But then you watch something like Nolan's Odyssey, it's like the dead coming to talk to you is probably the scariest thing you've ever seen. Like, they're covered in tar or whatever, and they're drinking blood so they can talk. And I was just like, oh, this is unsettling. But just that's what I was looking forward to most with this movie, was just seeing Nolan do what Nolan does. And I think what Nolan does best, and he did very well in this movie, is make ethereal things digestible, almost as if like it didn't happen, but I could believe it had happened. I'm looking at that movie and I'm like, okay, all of this stuff happened. You were just a little unsure as to what exactly was happening, so you have presented it in this. Yeah, and then this giant monster came out the cave and started pulling it. That could have just been like a squid or something like that, you know what I mean, or like an orca whale or something like that. Yeah, and then we got into we pulled up to this island. The dead were coming to talk to us. They could just be people who live underground. It was presented in that really, like, you sensationalized the story, but I believed this happened for real. And I always love watching Nolan and seeing how he's gonna figure out how to take something that is impossible, and convince me that just maybe if we thread the needle just a little bit, you know, that I could buy that this happened to somebody.
Yeah, I definitely something that I actually don't really like, not in necessarily terms of this movie, but when it comes to stuff like this, I don't really like to know how the magic works. And there are some things, just because it's Christopher Nolan and everyone's talking about how he did certain things practically, there's some spoilers in that regard that you just can't get around. So I know how certain things work and how he did it without using CGI. Specifically the Army of the Dead or the Cyclops. The one thing I don't know, and I'm okay with not knowing, is how he did the Kraken. I thought that was just, it's like, how did he do that?
I would believe if he used any CGI, that's where he did it.
But you know he didn't.
I'm sure it was minimal. I'm willing to believe that Scylla had to be some level of maybe not entirely, but that I feel like there had to be. Though the way he kind of shrouded his creatures in shadows.
Yeah, it's all lighting.
What it looked like was he looked like he used inspiration from an octopus in a jar.
Something like that. I don't know. I don't want to know. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
What do you think about the cast?
Who wasn't in this movie?
No, seriously.
I remember we saw the trailer, and I was like, "Oh, okay, Tom Holland's in this."
Cool.
Wait, Robert Pattinson's in this. John Bernthal's in this.
Oh.
Matt Damon's in this.
Oh.
Is that Travis Scott?
Zendaya's in this.
Snap, crackle,
And I was just like,
pop.
as the trailer kept going, there were just so many people who I was like, okay, it's literally Anne Hathaway.
We're
And
still
then
going.
And not only did that happen,
John
John Leguizamo.
Yeah, him.
Yeah, I was like, not only did that happen in the trailer, but that happened in the movie. Like, I didn't know John Leguizamo was in the movie, and I just see him pop up, and I'm like,
yeah, like if you think you know everybody in the movie based on the trailers, you know about half the cast.
Yeah,
like,
down.
they still snuck a bunch of people in there.
exactly. It happened like split second, blink and you miss it. If you go watch this movie, tell me where Aaron Taylor Johnson is, because he's in it.
He was in it.
Yes.
All right, I missed that.
Yes.
Although Aaron Taylor Johnson is one of those guys that is never the same guy, and he never looks like him either. Like he'll grow a beard and he's a completely different person. Then he'll go clean shaven. Then he'll dye his hair. I'm just like I never know him unless I know it's him.
Yeah. I wish Craven was better. Anyway, yeah. So like, what do I think of the cast? To answer your question, I think that they all did well. I don't think there was anybody that had a lackluster performance. I don't think anybody was faulty. I don't think anybody was, made or anything. I think everybody, given what they had, was really good. I do think.
Not even Helen of Troy Polamalu.
I don't have any issues with that.
That was so funny. I won't spoil that for you guys, but man, I love that scene.
For those who have seen it, you'll get this joke. For those who haven't seen it, be aware. Jump scare.
Maybe 500.
Can I say something real quick? Because I don't know if you've seen, and I don't want to get too mired in the controversy because I want to talk about the stuff that I liked. Or rather, I want to talk about the movie. But I don't know if you saw the side-by-side pictures they were doing while they were doing their hate campaign. But what they would do is they would take someone who played Helen of Troy in some other movie or whatever. And I don't watch a whole lot of Greek mythology type movies. And it'd be some gorgeous-looking woman, of course. I'm not going to take that away from them. And then the side-by-side picture they would put of Lupita Nyong'o would be her from 12 Years a Slave.
That's just racist.
And they would go, oh, this is the face that launched 1,000 ships. And I'm like, no, that is a slave out in the hot sun, beaten to damn near death, given no makeup, no touch-ups, no love whatsoever. Stop doing this. Because when I saw her in the movie, and granted, I'm black. When I saw it in the movie, I leaned right over to my wife right here, and I said, I'd go to war. I'd go to war for that face. I mean, that now, and here's the thing. That's what movies do. Movies glamorize the people in the movies. So people who are worried about, like, am I supposed to buy that this is the most... First off, I don't even believe that you can tell a most beautiful woman story in the modern age. We have too much access to too many different people. We have the internet, we have porn, we have magazines, we have, like, we're just able to see far too many faces for any one face to be the most beautiful or anything. I can find
AI now, apparently.
AI, yeah. It's like, you show me whoever you think is the hottest, I'll show you 10 women just like her. So that's number one. But number two, they are going to take whoever they take, and they are going to make them look as beautiful as they can possibly make them look. And I don't like putting intent on people because I don't know their hearts. But I cannot buy that you can earnestly come to the conclusion, if you're looking at that movie, that you can at least admire her beauty. And when it comes to the other characters that they were concerned about, Travis Scott is in the movie for 10 seconds. And you're talking about that ruined the movie for you. And Elliot was in the movie for what, like 3 minutes, maybe a little more. Like, I'm exaggerating, but not a lot, and that ruined the movie for you. And just, oh, we know why he was cast. I have an idea why he was cast. I think it's because he's worked with Nolan before. Nolan likes to repeat people he works with. Like, before he retired, goddamn, Michael Caine was in damn near every movie he made. Mm-hmm. So,
Michael Caine probably would have been the innkeeper
That's facts, bro. That's probably
Could've done
facts.
that. Definitely could have done that.
So I just like there's 3 hours of movie here, right? And if 5 minutes of this 3 hour of movie takes that much away from you, bro, like I really don't know what to say to you, and honestly, I don't think that you deserve. I miss when we could actually talk about movies for movies, and like I just feel like complaining about Elliot or Lupita or Travis Scott would be like if you trashed Age of Ultron on the basis that you didn't like Baron Strucker's performance. You don't even remember, do you?
He was a computer.
No, not that guy. The guy with the monocle at the beginning of Age of Ultron.
Oh.
When they exactly like that's the amount of screen time.
I'm thinking of Zola.
Yeah, and it's just like that would be ridiculous. Like James Spader doesn't count. You know what I mean? Chris Hemsworth's performance gets thrown out the window. Chris Evans, Tony Stark's, Robert Downey Jr. Like all that would be thrown out because you didn't like Strucker. You know what I mean? Like that. It sounds like the exact same to me. And then they're just, well, you know, Tom Holland isn't that great an actor, and Robert Pattinson was kind of phoning it in. It's like, are you fucking insane? I wanted to kill Robert Pattinson. Like I was sitting there, like I will fold you myself.
He did good work. He did. Everybody was so brilliant.
Not that I'm using this to excuse them. I think what it comes from is these actors don't feel like they're like acting, if that makes sense.
Some of them, like John Bernthal, I'll give you. I was watching Shane.
Well, sure. Well, what I mean is, I mean that to more so to give them a compliment, less to be antagonistic. I mean, like these conversations, the way that they're speaking, the way that you're kind of getting the information from everything and everybody, it just feels so natural and so conversational that you almost like, you recognize that that's Tom Holland, but if you kind of allow for that suspension of disbelief to really take you, then that's not Tom Holland. That's Telemachus. That's not Matt Damon. That's Odysseus. That's not Lupita Nyong'o. That's Helena Troy. Like, I just, these people just feel with this movie. That's why I really stand by what I said when I'm like, this acting was so good that it didn't even feel like acting. It just felt like I was watching these actual people go through this actual journey.
It's really easy for me to get lost in characters, unless an actor plays the same role like just constantly. It's not hard for me to just fall into the character. So maybe I'm not giving enough credit to people who can't see past the actors, and maybe that's the double-edged sword of having an all-star cast kind of thing. But I feel like I remember a time when a movie having an all-star cast was a compliment. And we didn't have these conversations. Oh, well, you know, how am I supposed to fall into the cage? That's just Viola Davis and Sam Jackson and Meryl Streep. I just don't remember. I remember when like movies were praised for assembling cast like that. Now, not every all-star cast produced a good movie. I'm not. What was that movie? Megalopolis or
Megalopolis.
Yeah, that. Like it don't always work, but I've never. I just feel like we've gotten so far away from the plot when it comes to talking about things that we are now turning on our own praises just for the sake of complaining. It's like, oh, you put together this all-star cast, so you just didn't bother to make a movie. What? I want good actors in the movie.
I will say, where we are culturally at the moment, I think, especially with movies like Obsession and Backrooms and some of these other, I won't say lower budget films, but like these more indie films. I mean, even stuff like One Day After Another, right? Like I haven't seen that one yet. I want to, but like the known character in that movie is Leonardo DiCaprio. And you don't really know anybody else. Same thing with Sinners, right? You got Michael B. Jordan, you got Haley Steinfeld, you got Delroy Lindo. You kind of know everybody else, but you don't really know anybody else, right? Rimmick, the guy who played Rimmick, apparently prolific actor. Never seen him before in my life, and if I have, I don't remember. Like, I think we've been getting this surge of these newer actors, and I think that's why people get so weary with these star-studded casts, because we already know what these people are capable of, and we've seen them, not necessarily in comparison to the Odyssey, but we've seen them in other things act like rent was due. So in a movie like this, where instead of everybody having to carry their specific role on their back, it becomes more of a collaborative and a communicative effort where everyone can like, hey, I'm going to do this, and I can trust that my other actors in my scenes can share and shoulder some of the responsibility. So I don't have to put everything in it. And that's not to say that they weren't putting everything. Like Anne Hathaway almost steals this movie at certain times with just how devoted she is to Odysseus. And it's just like just watching that, it's like that's heart jerking, or that's the tear jerking, that's heart, yeah. So it's like you can really feel this, but it's also like I think the people who see these movies with these star-studded casts and can't separate the fact that there are 9 A-listers, those people will never be able to enjoy these kinds of movies, because I made this joke when we was in the theater. I was like, this movie is Nolan's Avengers, because they see all of these people that they recognize and they're expecting all of these fantastical moments, and really that's not the idea. I think you have all of these big names as a way to like give shine to these actors who could probably only do it this way. But also, I think that these are all people who just really wanted to work with Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, but why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you if you had an opportunity? And honestly, I do think that this is. I think you have a healthy balance of both. Like, look, like it or not, Zendaya is an actress of tomorrow. Tom Holland is an actor of tomorrow. Corey Hawkins, an actor of tomorrow. Patel, I can't remember his first name, but he's an actor. Like, I remember Patel's first movie. His first movie was Yesterday, where he played. It was a movie where like he woke up in a world where the Beatles didn't exist, but he knew all the Beatles songs. So like he.
Oh yeah.
So
I thought that was a Beatles biopic. I didn't know that that's what that was about.
Nah. So and he ended up finding other people who came from a world that had other stuff. Like one person remembered Harry Potter, and so he was like, yes, J.K. Rowling don't exist here or whatever. It was a nice little movie, but I remember his debut, and so I'm looking at this movie and it's like, yeah, there is the old guard, but there are a lot of characters in this movie that you need older people to play. Like, you can't really tell the story of Odysseus with young actors because Penelope's been waiting around for 20 years. You know what I mean? And not to disparage our generation at all, but waiting 2 decades for your spouse is some 50s housewife type mentality. You don't get that in the 20 years, bro. It just you.
Most people would have left after 2.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you
That's a real thing.
only older people would have been able to believably tell that story, because that's a mindset from yesterday that we just don't have anymore. So you definitely need I'm not saying you need Anne Hathaway, but you need an older actor. You need an older actor to be Odysseus, and by proxy, that means his peers got to be older. Unless you're telling me he recruited a bunch of teenagers, and I know there were some of that. There was some of that, but his peers got to be his age. So I would get the classics of yesterday, and then let the newcomers play the younger roles here. This is one of those movies that actually perfectly works for that, because you have a healthy balance of both. You got all these young cats who are trying to get in Penelope's pants. So the castle or the kingdom or whatever it is, the palace, is full of your Corey Hawkins and your Robert Pattinsons and all that. And the sea is filled with your that Russian dude who's always that Russian dude in movies, that aggressive guy, who's just always the bald dude.
I know exactly.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
But I can't think of his. I know exactly who you're talking about, but I can't think of his name. He's he's a mob boss or something. He was like in a mob. movie or something.
He was
Oh,
Red Scare and Watchmen.
yeah, he was.
I've seen
Yeah,
the
he
movie
was.
twice, bro.
The show. You
Bro.
know his
No,
face
that-
when you
okay.
you know his face when you see him.
Yeah.
There was something I want to say as we transition out of this topic that I just wanted to put out there before I lost the thought. The one thing I will say about the cast, even though I think everyone did amazing, I do feel like there are some people who are perhaps highly prolific within their field that don't really get to do much. Specifically, I think of Zendaya in this movie. I don't have really much of an issue with the fact that Zendaya was cast, but Zendaya doesn't like the crux of her character within the movie is very important, but I don't think it needed to be Zendaya. And I'm not, like I said, I don't think I don't have an issue that it is Zendaya, but I just wish that you have this big name actor. How do you give them more to do?
But the Odyssey's never really felt to me. Ensemble stories like this don't feel to me that any one character needs more to do.
Sure.
What makes up the runtime or the length of the movie or the story or whatever is that there are 1,000 people who each get a scene. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
on this island he talks to this person, on that island he talks to that person. This guy comes in and gives you a letter like, hey, you got to go find this dagger. And then he goes to find the dagger, and this guard has to explain to him how the dagger works and where to plunge it into the heart. And this guy helps him plunge it into the heart. And it's just that, and everybody gets 3 minutes to pitch themselves as a character in the thing.
Yeah.
I just personally, this wouldn't be the movie that I would hold that to, because I feel like that has always been the Odyssey, you know?
And like I said, I'm not saying that I have an issue with her in the movie. I'm just wondering if that's what you're talking about. I know it's in reference to the other people, but I'm just wondering, like, for people who have an issue with certain casting choices, like,
There's that good faith again.
does it?
There's that positive attitude. I'm proud of you. This is progress.
Does it need to be these people if we're not going to invest a lot of time with him? Because at that point, do you just have Zendaya because Zendaya is a recognizable face? Could that role have gone to somebody who perhaps is a better actor than Zendaya and maybe made that a bit more believable? Again, I'm not saying...
Or maybe introduce a new actress, because mild spoiler alert, yes, she was important, but to the degree that the symbolism of her was important, not what she was saying.
Right. And that's kind of where I was going, is you have all of these recognizable faces, but at what point do you, to your point, allow for your new guard to kind of usher in? And not... Sure.
This is a veteran director.
Yes.
Who is going to work with, like, and not to sound pretentious, but I do feel like, because of the cachet of Nolan in the industry right now, a Nolan movie proved to me why you should be in a Nolan movie.
Sure.
You know, like, if I'm inviting 100 of Hollywood's best and brightest or whatever, like the Oppenheimer thing. This is the Manhattan Project, and I need the best scientists or whatever. Show me your resume. Ain't no first year physics student in the Manhattan Project. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
it's. I'm not saying that you go to that classroom and it's like, you see that will never be you. It will never let you. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the Manhattan Project is not the time for you. Today is about the experienced guys, the people with the influence, the people with the names. We're putting together this passion project, so we can be the whatever it is we're trying to be. And so I don't really begrudge him for that, because he really, I think Zendaya is one of those actresses that people might be critical of, because she just kind of showed up and didn't go away. But it's like, I mean, that's where legends are born. You start getting cast in 2-3 projects a year or whatever. She's a movie star. You know what I mean? Robert Pattinson is becoming a movie star. But Robert Pattinson is really more of a Denzel than a Will Smith, in my opinion, because he just puts on really good performances and he picks stuff that's gonna let him explore his acting chops. But you still see him a lot. Tom Holland looks like he's on that trajectory of things keep working out for him. I'm honestly surprised Timothy Chalamet ain't find his way into this movie. You know what I mean? I get it, but it's like you can't. It's not like the dude hasn't earned it. It's like these people they're earning their stripes. You know, and that's gonna happen by them being in stuff. And I think Zendaya and Tom Holland and Robert Pattinson and Corey Hawkins even have been in enough things that when that next big, hey, bring me the Avengers of today's Hollywood. Yeah, Zendaya should be able to say, put me in that because I have weight behind my name. She earned that. You know what I mean?
I personally think, and I'll go out on a limb here. I feel like it would have really spread out or given her more range if she played Cersei.
Oh, you would have set the world on fire, bro. Oh, nah. They would have burned this movie to the ground if they had cast Zendaya as Cersei, bro. I'm just letting you know.
I'm just saying, coming from reading it and knowing how that all was supposed to go down, I think she could have done it.
How'd you feel about that scene?
Okay, so
That's so crazy.
The two things that
No.
the two
I need some time still. I still need time.
the two things that really, this movie has a lot of jarring stuff in it. Although I said this and I stand by this, I don't think the movie needed to be rated R. Now apparently there was language in there which I guess wasn't paying attention to.
I missed all of it. Apparently,
I didn't hear any of it. But I think this movie could have been serviceable as PG-13. That being said, there are two specific things I think that are very jarring in this movie. And for those who know the story, obviously at the top of the list is Cersei, the Wonder Woman villain, and to me personally, the Cyclops. The Cyclops in and of itself is perhaps really gross to look at. It's what happens when they decide to try and deal with the Cyclops. Oh my God, bring earplugs.
don't go visit it in IMAX because that's loud.
It was a disturbing sound, which actually kind of gets into the other thing that I really liked about this movie that I kind of want to touch on a little bit. I think the audio quality in this film is fantastic.
It's a controversial thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I didn't see anything wrong with it, but a lot of people are complaining about the sound mixing. In this movie.
Really?
But a lot of people are complaining about it. It's like that's what makes a movie like this hard. There's so much bad faith going into it that you don't know coming out when you're listening to people complain about it. Do you really feel that way, or are you just validating the fact that you were convinced you were gonna not like it, so now you're just shitting on it? I didn't hear anything wrong with the sound either.
I'm wondering if those are people who didn't see it in IMAX because the joke, or didn't see it. Yeah, I mean the joke is see it in IMAX as Nolan intended, but like, I think
I don't want to be deaf, so no.
Well, IMAX is more so for the camera quality, but it does play it.
Mad loud.
Yeah, I was gonna
So
say
loud,
it
bro,
does
so
does
loud.
play a factor into the audio quality as well. But I love the sound mixing specifically. There's a moment where we get to briefly see the sirens. We don't really see them. We just see that they exist. And the only other movie within recent time that you can compare a siren scene to is Wakanda Forever.
They did have yeah.
And both of those songs in relation to sirens are very haunting, but one is haunting in a jarring way, which is Wakanda Forever. It's spooky as heck. And then this one is haunting in a beautiful way. And they actually go out of their way to explain what the siren song sounds like. We, the audience, hear it, although they do a really cool audio thing that I don't want to spoil because I think you guys should just experience that. But we, the audience, get to hear what the siren song sounds like. And obviously, if you know the story, you know Odysseus hears what the siren song sounds like. And just him explaining what it sounds like, I'm like, that is such poetry. Which kind of gets into my broader point. And I've said it before and I've said it again. And it's funny because he also made the siren song in Wakanda Forever. My boy Ludwig just don't miss, bro.
Agree.
Ludwig Göransson is a hot take, controversial take. Ludwig Göransson is this generation's John Williams.
Oh, never mind. I was prepared to fight you. I won't argue with you there. I thought you were going to trash Hans Zimmer.
I would never trash Hans Zimmer.
You could never.
We would have been scrapping. But
No. I think Hans Zimmer and Ludwig Göransson do two, like, they are two sides of the same coin. It's just one does theirs a bit more classical and one does theirs a bit more modern and experimental. But they both make fantastic music. But it's just when you look at how John Williams made his career, being in pretty much everything, even down from like Steven Spielberg, and you know, kind of putting himself out there and making these songs that live with us forever, you may not get that same effect from Ludwig, but everything that Ludwig produces leaves you with something, and it almost feels like, if I don't know who I could put in his place, maybe with the exception of a Hans Zimmer, but it's like, it almost feels like he is telling, like without him, are we even telling the same story?
Yeah, his music does do a lot of heavy lifting in the things I've seen. I particularly liked his score in Tenet. Mm-hmm. The best part about his score in Tenet is that he played some of the music backwards, which I just thought was which is dope as hell.
Yeah, Nolan in this movie did not want, like, he wanted the most authentic sound possible. So Ludwig and his team recreated ancient instruments from the Greco-Roman era to play. Like this is not a standard orchestral soundtrack. This is instruments, drums, timpanis, lutes, lyres, all that other stuff. Maybe even earlier generations of those instruments from that time period.
I love that.
Which is why I think the siren song is so haunting in the way that it is because it almost sounds unnatural because we don't have instruments like that today.
No, we do not.
Yeah, and you're talking about the siren haunting from the audio spot. What got me was the visual of it, that you only see a single siren from a distance on a ride, and I get very unsettled by unidentified figures. That's just always been something that freaks me the hell out, when somebody's just standing there and it's like you don't know who they are. If you can't see their face or you don't know their name, it's just like, are you gonna say hi? Like, and they're just posted up. So as they were sailing by and she was just chilling, I was like, nah, get me out of here, bro. So that, I mean, it accomplished its mission, and there's actually an unfortunate thing that happens on that boat as a result of that I won't get into. But that, like, when that happened, I actually, like, my skin was kind of crawling. I was like, nah, I'm not really prepared for this. Sure.